Welcome to the Quick Start Guide for smithing on New Dawn. It is the system that will be replacing typical weapons, armor, arrows, bows, things of that nature, crafting in the server. It is done through these different workstations. It might seem a little complicated at first, but it is relatively simple once you get the basics of it. So to start, we need to type in VAL skills. And here brings up the skills menu for not just smithing, but some of the other skills that are going to be on the server. The anvil is the smithing skill, so we click on that. And so there's going to be this novice smithing perk that you can get, and that's what this screen is for. These are different perks that you can grab as you level up. This first novice one is a level 0, but just requires 1 skill point. It doesn't actually provide you with anything, but it's just the first perk that you need to be able to grab the others later down the line. And so with that, we are now going to look at how to craft some of the tools and armors in the plugin. For crafting wooden and stone tools, we're going to go to the crafting bench, shift or right mouse button with nothing in your hand to bring up the creation menu. And from here that we can see the wooden and stone tools and some armor. So if we hover over, say, a stone pickaxe, you can see that it has a list of ingredients, and if we have those ingredients and we left mouse button onto it, you can now hold a right mouse button onto the crafting table while not shifting to begin working on it. And once it's popped out, after a set amount of time, you will get XP for crafting it, and you now have a tool or weapon or whatever you made that has a certain durability depending on your level in smithing and the perks that you've picked up. So for stone tools, that's all you're going to need to do. You don't need to apply this pickaxe to any of these other workstations. We're going to put that out of the way. So for a stone sword, same process to make it, but there's a little bit more afterwards that we can do. So we have a stone sword now. What we can do is we can shift right mouse button while holding the stone sword, and now that brings up the modification or the tinkering menu. So from here we see we have a lot of options. So if we go up to the stone sword, we can leather bind stone sword, or we can repair stone sword. That one is obvious. But leather binding, I believe, it increases the attack speed. Yeah, you see the attack speed on here is 2.67. This is what it would create. And this is 2.73. So that decreases, well, since it's negative number and all that, it increases your attack speed. So if you click on that and we have the prerequisite materials, click on that, and while holding the item, you hold right mouse button onto it, and eventually it'll flash a little bit, and now, see, now it is negative 2.67. So what we can also do with a stone tool is go over to this grindstone, shift while holding the weapon, right mouse button, and now we get the option to sharpen stone sword. So if we click on that and now hold right mouse button onto there, it'll grind away, and now we have a sharper stone sword which does more damage. For crafting iron weapons and tools, the process is much the same as making the wooden and stone ones, but is a little different. So first we have to have our iron ingots, or our gold bars if we're wasting those on tools and armor. So we go to the campfire, we shift right mouse button with nothing in our hand, and that brings up this menu where we see that we can heat up these resources. So we're going to select the heat iron ingots, and then we're going to hold right mouse button, and it's going to keep churning these out, processing the cold ones, I guess, into hot ones. There we go. Now we got hot iron ingots, so we can go over to an anvil, shift right mouse button, and now we have the creation menu for iron tools and gold. So here we're going to forge an iron pickaxe, which same recipe as vanilla, except that these ones are hot. So go ahead and left mouse button onto the iron pickaxe or whatever you're crafting. Same thing as before, you have to spend some time actually crafting the item, but eventually it'll pop out, give you XP, so on and so forth. You already know that. So now with this, we can do a couple of things. We can bring it over to the campfire again while holding it, shift right mouse button, and now we get the option to heat it. So pretty much for all of these metallic tools and armors, you're going to be able to actually heat them up and do this process with them to increase their durability. So we're going to shift our mouse button, we're going to heat it up, hold while holding it. There we go. Now it is red hot. We're going to bring it over the cauldron that's going to be full of water. You got to make sure that it is full of water, otherwise it will not work. Go and shift our mouse button with a weapon again, or the tool or weapon, whatever you're using. Come over to the iron pickaxe, and now you see you get the option to temper it. See that the durability is currently 1 out of 1. After tempering it, we're going to have 117 durability. So go ahead and left mouse button on that, and same process as usual. Not shift clicking, just hold right mouse button onto it, and there we go. That is now tempered. So for a iron weapon, we got the red hot iron bars. So we go over here, craft a sword. And now we got the sword, so let's go ahead and bring it over to the grindstone. If you remember, you can also leather bind these as well. I'm not going to just for the sake of time, but that again increases like your attack speed, so on and so forth. So going over to the grindstone, we can shift right mouse button onto it. We can sharpen the sword. We see defaultly it has 2.94, and with this it gives it an extra like little bit. It's at 3.29 here, so let's go and sharpen it. So that's applied that. But now what you can do with iron weapons, you can actually bring them over to a, what block is this? I'm not in creative. Let me just do that real quick, figure this out. Polished andesite slab, that is what you need. So holding the weapon again, shift right mouse button onto it, and you see you get the option to whetstone an iron sword, and I have forgotten clay, so we're going to go grab that real quick. There we go. So yeah, you need clay balls for this. You need 1 clay ball to I guess, whetstone it. So, and that's going to add extra damage. As you can see, it's 3.57 here. The unmodified one is 3.29. So you're really going to want to make sure you're doing these upgrade processes because they are obviously quite beneficial. All right, there we go. And we got a little, and you get XP for tinkering it with the tools and weapons and so on and so forth as well. So now we're going to be able to bring it back to the campfire. If you remember from the tools, we can now heat up the iron sword. Red hot. Now go ahead and right mouse button cauldron again, same thing, temper it. It's going to use up some of that water, and now it has the extra durability. If you're wondering why the durability is so low for some of these iron things I'm crafting, it's because I'm only... To craft leather armor, we're going to begin at the crafting table. Going to shift right mouse button with nothing in our hand to pull up the creation menu. Here we can see all the leather armor, so we're going to craft a leather chestplate. Out a leather chestplate, or tunic, I guess, whatever it's called. So from here, we can do some things to this. So let's go back to the crafting table, shift right mouse button while holding it. And here we see that we get, actually, if I just click on the item, I can just have just those options that I have for that specific item. So here we can improve the fitting, we can repair, and we can stud it. So improving the fitting, it just requires 1 more leather and it gives you a little bit more armor, which can, be the difference between life and death. So definitely probably worth it to improve that fitting. There we go. Now it's well fit. So go and shift right mouse button again. Click on that. And we see that we can stud it with some iron nuggets, which I happen to have. So that gives you extra armor toughness. So armor toughness is going to mitigate crits. It's not a huge amount, but it's some. And this is a bonus that's unique to leather armor. So let's go ahead and stud that. There we go. So now it's got that extra armor toughness on there. So from here, we can actually still do a little bit more. So let's go over to the campfire, right mouse button, and we can melt honeycombs. So if you have some of those, go and... Actually, I think you only need 1 per piece, but I don't know. So here, now we go over to the cauldron. Let me grab some water to replenish that. So with this, we go and hold the tunic, right mouse button while shifting, and we get the option to wax coat the leather chestplate. So that just takes 1 melted wax, which we already have, and this gives you extra durability because you see that the durability is currently 144. Durability here is 199. So the left mouse button on that, same process. And because it's trying to like put it onto me, some of these times where like you're trying to hold right mouse button on applying shit, it just doesn't work that well. Just spam right mouse button. There we go. So see now that it actually has that extra durability from the wax coating. For crafting chain or iron armor, we're going to begin either at the crafting table or the anvil. You're going to craft chain at the crafting table, and you're going to craft iron at the anvil. So let's go over to the crafting table. Let's craft a chain chest plate. That's just going to require iron nuggets. The recipe is the same as vanilla. You just drop some ingots into your inventory crafting menu, and it pops them out. It's all the same. No complicated recipe. There we go. So now with this, we can come back to the crafting table, go ahead and we can select on the item to bring up the options that we have. And we get the option to improve the fitting or repair it. So improving the fitting, as you might remember, will give you extra armor. So see, that gives it like a whole like 0.5 plus, which, you know, that's a pretty decent bit. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to apply that. Take a couple more iron nuggets. There we go. Got XP. So now what we can do is we can come over to the fire, go ahead and heat it up. And then if it's trying to like put armor on you and you don't have like any armor to put in the slot to prevent that, just spam right mouse button pretty well. So now we got the red hot tag onto here. Go ahead and shift right mouse button onto the cauldron as you do, and then click on this. And same thing, just spam on it till it works. And so now we have the extra durability on there. So that's all you're going to be able to do to actually apply in terms of like modifiers and such for chain and iron. It's going to be the same for iron. Let's go ahead and create some real quick. So we actually, we need to create some hot iron ingots. So let's go and grab some of those. Let's grab the 64 stack. Oh, it didn't work. I gotta make it the singles. That process will likely be a little bit slower in the actual server. Alright, go back to the anvil. And from here, let's go and forge an iron chestplate. There we go. And so now with this, we go back to the crafting. I don't think you can you well fit it? Never mind, you do improve the fitting at the anvil for iron as well. So go ahead and we can do that. There we go, that's applied now. And I don't believe that there's no other options you can repair, but there's no other modifiers that you can actually apply to it. And I believe that there is nothing that's going to pop up in here yet. There's nothing there. So now the last step is going to be bring it over the fire, heat it up, since that it's trying to put it on red hot. And so now, same process as everything else. And now it has the extra durability, it's tempered, and that is all the modifiers that you can apply to the iron armors. To craft bows and crossbows, you're going to go to the crafting table, shift right mouse button, bring up the creation menu. See that there's the bow and the crossbow here, as well as some of the non-iron arrow types. Then also those other arrow types, the actual iron ones, you're going to find those in the anvil. There's also going to be some of these other ones which we're trying to get rid of. So for crafting a bow, you just need the materials. So let's go ahead and craft one. That's all fine and dandy, but we still have more that we can do with this. So let's actually go over to the fletching table, which actually no, you need to hold the bow, shift right mouse button for the modifiers. You can see that you can actually strengthen each of these different types of weapons. So go ahead and left mouse button on the one you want to pick, and then just hold on there. And if it's like trying to draw an arrow, you can just spam right mouse button to apply the modifier. So now you see that the draw strength has increased. So make sure whenever you're crafting bows and crossbows, you come back over here to do this, because the cost is only 2 string, and the benefit can be quite substantial, especially in the later levels. To help illustrate how you need to reach certain levels and grab the subsequent perks to be able to work with certain types of materials and making certain types of items, uh, mainly just between leather, chain, and iron, and for tools and weapons between like stone and iron. I've made this little visualization to help illustrate how exactly it works. So everybody is fully competent at making leather from the get-go, although it still is affected by the smithing level, the quality, but it's not being actually further hindered because you're below a certain level. So if we go to chain, we see from level 0 to level 20, you are hindered and the hindrance is at 50%. So you can make chain and you can get some of the XP from it, but you're only getting half of the XP and half of the actual. Well, it may not be exactly like your armor value is cut in half necessarily, but it's being heavily impacted regardless. Until you reach level 20, then you can grab the Smithing 2 perk, or Smithing, yeah, I believe it's called Smithing 2, which gives you an extra 50% uh, ability to work with that and make the chainmail armor. And then you're fully competent at making it. Of course, it still is affected by your level. Somebody that's level 20 making chain versus somebody that's level 60 making chain, that's going to be two very different quality armors, but the difference between the level right before 20 and 20 and actually grabbing the perk that you need to be able to fully work with chain is going to be quite different. And so if we go down here to iron, you see from 0 to 20, you are just terrible at working with this material. You are very bad at it. You can still craft it. You'll get some of the XP from it, but it's probably, in my opinion, a waste of resources to actually make iron armor before grinding out your levels, whether it's making tools, making, leather chain armor, things of that nature, things that you're more competent with in terms of the skill. Let me turn to noon. So at 20, when you grab that Smithing 1 perk that gives you the extra ability to work with chain fully, you'll also be getting something that bumps up your iron armor a little bit. And this is when iron armor might start to become viable. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to compare to all the other things exactly. We did some testing with it, and it seems that you can definitely get some benefit out of it, but it still is definitely hindered, and you're putting in a lot of resources for that. So it might be best to stick with chain from the 20 to 40 bracket, especially because you won't be getting the armor speed debuff that iron gives you versus chain. But then once you reach level 40 and you grab Smithing 2, then you're fully competent with working with iron armor. You're able to make that without being further hindered by not having the right skill for it. And from then on out, you're able to craft iron, according to your level. It's still going to apply compared to level 40 versus a level 60 player, but you're going to be fully capable of working with iron. Also, the levels don't end at 60, they go on to 100. This is just a short little snapshot of the area where you actually have the different varying skills in working with these materials. So hopefully that clears it up. It might sound a little confusing. Feel free to ask an admin or anyone else that is in the community in the help channel for help understanding this if you're still confused with smithing, because it can be a little confusing at first and you might like get a little mixed up, but we can show you in game, in person, and help you out further understand it. Because once you get the hang of it, it becomes much simpler and much more intuitive to work with. So hopefully that helped. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the Discord or the help channel. Feel free to DM me directly, General Ginger on the Discord, or any of the admins. So good luck and have fun smithing plugin.